Most buyers who reach out to me say they want to live in Fort Lauderdale, but what they actually mean is that they want to live within a 20-mile radius of Fort Lauderdale, and they haven't yet figured out which city fits them best. In this video, we're going over what it's actually like to live in Greater Fort Lauderdale, the city of Fort Lauderdale itself, the beach towns to the north, the areas just outside the city limits with their own distinct personalities, and some of the western cities that a surprising number of buyers end up choosing once they understand what's out there. By the end of this, you'll have a clear picture of where you actually belong. My name is Steve McAleer. I've been selling real estate in Fort Lauderdale for 20 years, completed over 600 transactions in this market, and I work with The Agency, one of the premier luxury brokerages in the country. One of the most common mistakes I see buyers make is treating Fort Lauderdale as a single destination, rather than a collection of communities with genuinely different personalities, price points, and daily lives. Someone who thrives in Weston is a different person than someone who is drawn to Wilton Manors, and both of them are different from the buyer who ends up on a canal in Olas Isles. This video is about helping you figure out which version of this area is actually yours. We're going to cover a lot of ground, literally, so let's get into it. Fort Lauderdale itself is where most buyers start their search, and for good reason. This is where the waterfront lifestyle is most concentrated, where Las Olas runs through the heart of everything, and where the neighborhoods that define the Fort Lauderdale brand are located. Olas Boulevard is the spine of the city's lifestyle. Walkable, lined with restaurants, wine bars, galleries, and boutiques, it connects downtown Fort Lauderdale to the beach with a genuinely pleasant streetscape. It's improved dramatically over the past decade and continues to attract better and better restaurants and concepts. If you want to be able to walk to dinner from your front door, the neighborhoods immediately surrounding Las Olas, Victoria Park, Rio Vista, the eastern edge of the city, are where that's actually possible. The waterfront neighborhoods are what put Fort Lauderdale on the map internationally. Olas Isles, Harbor Beach, Rio Vista, Coral Ridge. These are the addresses that attract buyers from the Northeast and Midwest who want the full South Florida waterfront experience. Private docks, ocean access canals, year-round boating, and homes that range from renovated mid-century originals to brand new ultra-luxury construction. This is the core of what makes Fort Lauderdale different from every other city at the price point. Downtown Fort Lauderdale has been developing steadily and continues to add residential towers, hotel projects, and entertainment venues. The Brightline train connects downtown to Miami and Orlando, which has changed how some buyers think about the commute equation. If you want urban, vertical living with city energy, not quite Miami's density, but a real downtown, this is where that exists in Broward County. The beach itself runs along Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard, also known as A1A, and has gone through a significant transformation. It's no longer the spring break destination that it was in the 80s. The city made a deliberate decision to position itself as a higher-end beach destination, and it shows. The Conrad, the W, the Ritz Carlton, the hotel stock along the beach reflects that shift. Buyers who want to be within walking distance of the ocean without paying Miami Beach prices find Fort Lauderdale Beach an increasingly compelling option. Just north of Fort Lauderdale is Pompano Beach, which has had one of the most interesting stories over the last 5 years. And buyers who have discovered it early have done really well. Pompano Beach sits directly on the Intracoastal and has its own beach, its own waterfront dining scene, and its own canal system with ocean access waterways. The fishing pier, the Pompano Beach Amphitheater, and the gradual arrival of better restaurants and retail have changed the energy of the city meaningfully. What's driven the buyer interest is value. Pompano Beach has historically offered waterfront access, real deep water canal footage, real dock space, at a price point below what comparable access costs in Fort Lauderdale proper. That gap has been closing as most buyers figure out what's there, but it still exists. If you want ocean access waterfront and your budget is in the $800 to $1.5 million range, Pompano Beach deserves serious attention. The east side of Pompano, closer to the beach and the Intracoastal, is where most of the buyer activity is concentrated. The Hillsborough area at the northern edge has some of the most dramatic deepwater properties in all of Broward County. Boats that can't navigate some of Fort Lauderdale's fixed bridge system canals can operate freely out of Hillsborough Inlet. Pompano isn't as polished as Fort Lauderdale Lauderdale Proper. That's the honest answer, but it's trending in the right direction. The investment is following the buyers, and for someone who wants a waterfront lifestyle at a more accessible price point with upsides still ahead of them, it's a legitimate choice. Two communities that couldn't be more different from each other, but both deserve a real look depending on what life you're trying to build here. Lauderdale-by-the-Sea is exactly what it sounds like. A small beach town, genuinely small, and about 2 square miles, that sits directly on the ocean between Fort Lauderdale Beach and Pompano Beach. It has a walkable town center, a dive culture that's famous among serious scuba divers because the reef is literally across from the beach, and a neighborhood feel that the larger beach communities around it don't offer. The real estate in Lauderdale-by-the-Sea ranges from beach cottages and smaller condos to canal front homes with dock access on the interior streets. It's not a market for ultra-luxury buyers at $3 million and above. The inventory simply isn't there. But for buyers in the $700,000 to $1.5 million range who want genuine beach town lifestyle, direct ocean proximity, and a community feel that's hard to find on Florida's East Coast, it's worth a serious look. The trade-off is that you're in a small town, the restaurant selection is limited, the nightlife isn't there, and you'll drive for most things beyond the immediate beachfront area. Wilton Manors is a different proposition entirely. Incorporated as its own city, about 2 square miles just north of Fort Lauderdale's city limits. Wilton Manors has a distinct identity, a walkable main street called Wilton Drive that's lined with restaurants and bars, and one of the most tight-knit community cultures anywhere in Broward County. It's well known as one of South Florida's most welcoming LGBTQ+ communities, and that has shaped the neighborhood's energy, its retail, and its social culture in ways that make it genuinely unique in this market. The real estate in Wilton Manors is predominantly single-family homes, some of them on canals, which is something buyers don't expect. You can find canal front homes with dock access in Wilton Manors for prices that would be significantly higher for comparable waterfront access in Fort Lauderdale's city limits. The homes tend to be older and smaller than what you find in Fort Lauderdale's premium neighborhoods, but the value relative to the lifestyle offered is real. For buyers who want walkability, community, water access, and a lower price point than Olas Isles or Coral Ridge, Wilton Manors is a legitimate alternative that often goes under-considered. And by the way, if you're truly thinking about moving here to Fort Lauderdale, I have a great resource for you. It's called the Fort Lauderdale Homebuyer Guide. It includes information about neighborhoods and price points, what to buy and what to consider, and how to move here without second-guessing yourself. It's totally free, and the link can be found in the description below. Oakland Park has been a city that people drive through on their way to somewhere else. And in 2026, that's finally starting to change. Oakland Park sits just north of Wilton Manors and has historically been considered a value play. Older housing stock, more modest commercial corridors, a city that was easy to overlook when you're focused on Las Olas and the beach. That's an accurate description of what it was. What it's becoming is more interesting. The city has invested in a deliberate revitalization effort centered on a new municipal complex and culinary district, a proper anchor that signals the city is serious about its trajectory. The Funky Buddha Brewery has been a genuine draw along the commercial corridor for years. A wave of smaller restaurants and creative businesses has followed the same pattern that played out in Wilton Manors a decade earlier. The real estate case in Oakland Park right now is a value and trajectory play. Single-family homes that cost $800,000 to $1.1 million in Wilton Manors can be found in Oakland Park for meaningfully less. For a buyer who wants to be in the Fort Lauderdale ecosystem, wants a walkable community that's actively improving, and wants to get ahead of appreciation rather than pay for it after the fact, Oakland Park is worth a conversation. It's not where you would expect a $3 million buyer, but it's a legitimate and increasingly interesting option in the $500,000 to $900,000 range. Now, let's talk about the parts of Greater Fort Lauderdale that surprise buyers the most: the western cities. And I say surprised because buyers who initially start searching in Fort Lauderdale end up in areas like Weston or Parkland. Davie is the largest and most established of the western cities, a sprawling area with an equestrian character that's genuinely unusual this close to Fort Lauderdale. If you want acreage, you want horses, you want space in a way that South Florida doesn't typically offer, Davie delivers that. Nova Southeastern University anchors significant employment in the area. The real estate ranges widely, from gated communities with golf and amenities to larger agricultural lots for buyers who want a different kind of South Florida lifestyle entirely. Cooper City sits right next to Davie and is one of the most consistently in-demand family communities in Broward County. And the reason is simple: the schools. Cooper City's public schools are among the highest rated in the county, consistently. For families relocating from the Northeast, where school quality is non-negotiable, Cooper City frequently rises to the top of the list once they see the ratings. The trade-off is that it's not particularly a walkable or urban environment. It's a quiet, well-maintained, family-oriented city. If that's what you're building, it delivers. Weston is the most polished of the western areas, and the one that most consistently draws high net worth buyers who want space, quality construction, master-planned community amenities, and top-tier schools, but aren't prioritizing waterfront access. Weston has been a top-rated city in Florida for quality of life consistently. The Western Town Center has real walkability for a western suburb. The golf and country club infrastructure is excellent, and the housing stock ranges from well-maintained gated communities to larger, more custom homes on substantial lots. Parkland is the northernmost and arguably the most affluent of the western communities. It borders Boca Raton to the north and has one of the lowest densities and highest price points of any city in Broward County. Very low density, large lots, and a strong school system, including Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, which remains one of the highest performing public high schools in the county. For buyers who are coming from suburban Connecticut or Westchester and want that same combination of space, school quality, and low density residential character, just with a Florida climate, Parkland is often the closest analog they'd find. Southwest Ranches deserves a mention for a specific type of buyer, the one who wants genuine acreage with a reasonable distance from the city. It's one of the few cities in South Florida where you can own multiple acres, keep horses, and still be 30 minutes from Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. The housing inventory is limited and the properties are unusual. This is not a neighborhood for a buyer who wants a traditional single-family home in a gated community. But for the right buyer, there is genuinely nothing else like this close to a major metro in South Florida. And here's the framework that I give to buyers who are really trying to sort through this, because the answer really does depend on what you're prioritizing. If waterfront living and boating are the core of what you're building, you're looking at Fort Lauderdale proper, Olas Isles, Coral Ridge, Rio Vista, Harbor Beach, or Pompano Beach if your budget needs more room to work with. That's where the canal infrastructure, the deep water access, and the waterfront lifestyle are most fully realized. If walkability and community feel matter as much or more than water access, look seriously at Wilton Manors. The community culture in Wilton Manors is something that's hard to find anywhere else in South Florida and genuinely surprises buyers who write it off before visiting. If schools and family infrastructure are your primary driver, the western suburbs are where you're probably going. Cooper City, Weston, and Parkland consistently deliver on school quality in a way that's harder to find in the urban core neighborhoods closer to the water. If you want a beach town character and ocean proximity without the density and price of a major market, Lauderdale-by-the-Sea and Pompano Beach's eastern neighborhoods deserve a real look. And if you're a buyer who wants space, land, and a completely different kind of South Florida life, Davie and Southwestern Ranches are the answer. And almost nobody from outside the area knows they exist until someone tells them. The most important thing I tell buyers going through this process is don't commit to a geography before you've spent real time in at least 2 or 3 of these communities. What reads as appealing online and what actually fits your daily life can be very different things. A 2-day dedicated exploration of the area with someone who knows where to take you will tell you more than 6 months of Zillow browsing. So if you truly are considering a move to South Florida and are considering any of the areas in Fort Lauderdale or West, all of my contact details are below.